Today in the lodge kitchen I'm going to make a simple tomato courgette tart. Ordinarily I'd use green pesto or red pesto but didn't have any, so I still had some wild garlic in the garden, so I've made my own wild garlic pesto. But obviously you can use your own store-bought if you want. I will post a recipe for the wild garlic pesto too if you can still find it. So what you need to do is, it's very simple and quick. You have a sheet of ready rolled puff pastry. I've got a baking sheet that's got some silicone paper on it, and I'm going to cut off strips from top and bottom and all the way down the edge as well, on each edge. So take a strip, about a sort of 3 centimetre strip more or less. Take those off. You could use this piece of baking parchment to do it on, but I prefer to cook on the silicone, so I'll just flip that over and take those off. And then these are going to be the edges of your tart. So what I'll do is just brush down the edge of each side of the pastry, and then fit these pieces of pastry back on again. So these make a sort of raised side for your tart. So take that off, and then the same down the edge here, just slot it in between the two edges, cut those off, and the same with that one. Just put that on, and then those can go all back together. And I'm just going to brush the edge of that too, so that will give it a little bit of colour on the edge when it's in the oven. I've set the oven at 200 degrees, and this will go in for 20 minutes. So a little bit of wild garlic pesto on the bottom, a couple of tablespoons or your own pesto, whichever you have. Put a little bit more on, and then just spread that across the bottom like so. And then we're going to put some tomato and courgette on the top. So very quick and simple, really nice, tasty, quick lunch dish this, when the weather's good. Let's take that away. And then we'll just put that to one side for the moment and slice up. I've got a lovely big beef tomato here from Rafters of Driffield. It came in our veg box last week. You never know what you're going to get, but there's always delicious stuff in there. So this was a nice way of using it up. So I'm just going to slice this thinly, and then also going to slice up my courgette. So massive tomato, so there's going to be plenty for this tart. You can, of course, I'm not using any cheese, although there is cheese of course in the pesto, but you can put goat's cheese with this, feta with it, anything you like. You can just make it however you wish. So there we go, there's our sliced tomato. Really lovely big slices. So I'm just going to lay those on, sort of alternate them like so. And then I'll slot in some courgette as well, just to give it a little bit of extra colour. You want to get them sort of as thin as you can, although that one's a little bit thicker, but thin slices of tomato, and then we can pile plenty onto it. Using the store-bought, this ready rolled, you can use your own pastry if you want to make your own puff pastry, you can do, but this store-bought one is great as well. So I'll just cut a few slices on the angle of courgette, again quite thin because you want them to cook through. If you can't get the ready rolled and you can just get a block of pastry, you can roll that out too. So let's slot those bits of courgette in. Really summery, quick dish to do. And then I've also got a few basil leaves here, and I'm just going to slot a few in there too, to give it a little bit of seasoning with the herbs. You see, it's really simple. Herbs go in as well. Just slot those in. If you get a little bit underneath the courgette and tomato, that stops those bits of herbs, bits of basil from burning, so it still gives you a nice flavour underneath. You can have little bits poking out. It doesn't matter if they go a bit crispy, but you want some of the flavour from that fresh basil in there too. So just whip those in, and then a bit of salt and pepper on there. And I'm just going to drizzle the top of it with olive oil. We'll just move those edges in so that they're not covering the sides of the pastry, so it's got room to rise up. And a little bit of lovely, this is extra virgin olive oil, drizzled over the top, and then that's it, into the oven for 20 minutes at 200. So there we go, a delicious tomato tart. We'll just scoop that off onto the board, put that to one side, and then that we'll divide up. This is a really nice lunch for 4. So let's see if I can chop this without it falling apart too much. So let's just take a slice of that and pop that onto a plate. It should be nice and crispy on the bottom as well, which it is. So I'll pop that on there. Another one on there. And just to serve, I'm just going to drizzle over some of this lovely olive oil as well. So I'll just drizzle a little bit of that on it, just to give it a bit of shine, and serve it up with some of this salad. So really quick, interesting, nice, easy lunch for you. And you can serve it as well, just give it a little bit of an extra twist with a wild garlic flower. So there is your tomato tart, tomato and courgette tart even, with a nice pea, avocado, basil and mozzarella salad.